Muy buenas tardes. Hoy, 28 de diciembre de 2020, a las 15 horas, damos puntual inicio a la defensa de tesis en licenciatura en lengua inglesa. Les saluda el profesor Cristian Cristóful. Soy coordinador del Departamento de Inglés del Instituto Superior de Lenguas y hoy estoy fungiendo de moderador. Entonces, se da inicio a la defensa virtual de la tesis que lleva el título Teachers' Perceptions on Teaching through Teleconferencing Technology for Remote English Teaching, a cargo de la autora Erma Nuñez Ruiz Díaz, de la carrera de lengua inglesa del Instituto Superior de Lenguas. En calidad de presidente del tribunal examinador, nos acompaña la profesora Romina Bento. Muy buenas tardes, profesora.
Muy buenas tardes, profesor Cristóforo.
Bienvenida. En calidad de miembros del tribunal examinador, nos acompañan las profesoras Carolina Ortiz y Rosa Ortiz. Muy buenas tardes, profesoras.
Muy buenas tardes, profesor.
Buenas tardes, muchas gracias.
Gracias por acompañarnos, profesora. Bueno, postulante universitaria Erma Nuñez, buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes a todos, profesores.
Bienvenida. Muy bien, la profesora Romina Bento, entonces queda con usted el manejo del desarrollo de la defensa.
Muchas gracias, profesor Cristóforo. Bueno, mi querida Erma, el micrófono es tuyo, nosotros apagamos los nuestros, te escuchamos.
En inglés.
Yes.
Okay. I will share my screen and I start, okay? Okay, so this is my topic. As you said, teachers' perceptions on teaching through teleconferencing technology for remote English teaching. Okay, and these are the sections I'm going to cover: introduction, the review of the literature, methods, result, and conclusion. I start with the introduction. So today I'm going to talk about two things that we have a lot in our everyday life, which is technology and English. And with the current pandemic, the lack of physical interaction has become almost impossible. So we had to start looking for other ways to interact. And this is where technology plays an important role. Nowadays, video conference technology calls have become very popular, and we're using them a lot in institutions for personal meetings, for work-related meetings, and we are using it now for my presentation. So, okay. At the present time, a new way of teaching English has become very popular. And before the pandemic, it was popular, but now with the pandemic, it has become more widespread. And this paper is going to focus on the perception of teachers who teach through teleconferencing technology, through platforms. And I will talk about the advantages and disadvantages according to the teachers about using this technology, also how they find the resources, and also the tools they use for teaching. Okay, the statement of the problem, because we live in because of the current pandemic, as I mentioned before, online tutoring has become very popular, and not only because it's cheaper, but it's also comfortable for teachers and students, and because nowadays the physical interaction has become more difficult, and for classes that you give in person. So, and technology has become an excellent tool for the interaction, right? For this reason, the study tried to recognize the perceptions of teachers who teach online, what they consider, as I mentioned before, the advantages and disadvantages of teaching online, and their attitudes and perceptions. The research purpose was to analyze the perception, as I said, and And to attain this purpose, the following objectives were considered: to find out the teacher's views about teaching remotely, to identify the advantages and constraints of remote teaching, and to determine the challenges that teachers face when they teach remotely. And the research question I answered with this project was, what are the teachers' perceptions about teaching English remotely through teleconferencing technology? The significance of my study, well, using technological tools in EFL instruction is a practice that is becoming, as I said before, very popular. And using technology as a means of teaching and can have a lot of advantages and can be an aid for teachers and to give a meaningful learning and also effective learning. It can inspire those teachers who haven't ventured in this world to start teaching online, and also encourage those teachers who are already teaching online to find ways to improve their teaching and to improve their lessons. And also, this method can be used as a main way as in teaching. For example, when this pandemic is over, it can be used as an aid for teaching in normal classroom settings, and also can help in teaching through platforms. The limitations and ethical concerns. Well, this project was its main focus was the teachers. So a general view about the advantages are considered only for teachers and in Paraguayan setting. Okay, so it was not considered teachers from other country, only teachers from here, Paraguay, and also students' perceptions were not considered, only the teachers. And those were the limitations of the study. And for the literature review, which is the second section, I talked a little bit about second language learning and the concept of learning, also the acquisition, and for adults and for children. I also talked about the critical period hypothesis. I'm not going to go into detail with this because I only have 30 minutes. I'm just going to talk about a little bit about what I mentioned in my review of the literature. I talked a little bit about autonomy and the autonomy the student needs to have in order to learn, that they need to be responsible of their own learning, that the teacher is a facilitator, but is the student the responsible of using the tools the teachers are given and in order to have an effective learning. What else? I talked a little bit about the communicative approach, which is based on the idea that learning should be through having communication, real communication in real meaning, and the whole language approach, which is a holistic approach of language teaching. And I talked a little bit about what it is and some activities that can be considered for these approaches, communicative approach and whole language approach. I also talked a little bit about online learning and educational technology, which is the use of technology in education. I mentioned some terms like TEL, which is technological enhanced language learning, which basically includes all the mobile technology, which are smartphones, tablets, iPads, and everything that implies using devices to learn a language. I also mentioned multimedia, which can be very helpful when showing pictures for students, that can be meaningful when you show pictures or videos for their learning. I also talked a little bit about computer-assisted language learning, which is the use of computers in the learning process. I also talked a little bit about the advantages of using about e-learning, and I also mentioned some literature about this topic. I also talked a little bit about e-learning as a method of learning and some literature about web-based technology in teaching. Also, e-learning that includes offline e-learning, which are CDs and DVD, videos, and also online learning, which includes platforms and web pages, etc. I also talked a little bit about some resources and teachers can use for and their teaching. And these are just reference pictures. I like the computers and the phone and the tablet there. So, and to talk about the desktop software that you can use for and as an aid for teaching, and also students can learn by themselves with these softwares, mobile web, and also apps, both for mobile devices and tablets. And I mentioned some resources. I don't want to go into detail because I don't have much time, but I want to add my personal opinion about two of them. It does nothing to do with the research. Okay, it's just my personal experience. And with Duolingo and Puso, for example, are software that you can learn with multimedia, and I use Duolingo, for example, to learn Guarani. It has Guarani and it has a placement test, and it's very interesting. And teachers can use those tools for and their learnings too, and as an aid, not 100% for the learning. And with Rosetta Stone, I learned Swedish, and I consider Rosetta Stone a great tool. And of course, the interaction with native speakers or with the speakers of the language are fundamental for this type of teaching. And this is just my personal opinion. It has nothing to do with the project or with the research. I just wanted to add. And for Quizlet and FluentU, these tools are very useful for teachers. For example, with Quizlet, you can make flashcards for your students, especially for children, or when you want to introduce a new topic for vocabulary, for example, or grammar, which is sometimes very tedious for students. You can use these type of activities for them to be more, for the activity to be more engaging. And also Skype and Zoom, because Skype and Zoom are the most used platforms for teachers who teach online. Okay, the section number three is methods. The type of study was a qualitative study because interviews took place in my research. By interviewing the teacher's own thoughts and idea, we portrayed the teacher's own thoughts and ideas were portrayed in this interview. So, as Sidman said, the purpose of the interview was to learn the teacher's experiences and make a meaning from their experience. That's why, and I decided to use interview as a qualitative project. The setting and participants. The setting and participants. The study was conducted with Paraguayan teachers who teach to students. Some of the teachers teach students from the same city, others from other cities. And there was a teacher, for example, who teach English to students from Encarnacion. And the idea was to find teachers who teach remotely with technological tools, such as video conferencing platforms. So a phenomenological interview took place for the research. Data collection. As I mentioned before, I use interview as a data collection. The interview was carried out after the class. I included an interview guide with the questions I made to the teachers. And the purpose of interviewing is not mainly just answering questions, but to know the experience of the teacher, their perception, what they think teaching online is. So that's why I made this research. Okay. Data analysis. To determine the analysis, a transcript was created through a transcribing tool called Otter.ai I found online. It's a great tool. And I use the transcription to analyze using a thematic framework, and also using codes and analytical categories to establish themes and to answer the main question, which is what are the teachers' perceptions about teaching online? And also, it answered the main objectives, which were to find out the views, the perceptions, also the advantages and disadvantages, and also the challenges they face. And my results, I found 5 themes, and through the examination and the analysis of the transcript of the interviews. And these themes include attitudes and perceptions, and advantages and disadvantages, typical problems, tools, and those are the themes. For theme number 1, attitudes and perceptions, and I included challenge, comfort, blending as suggestion, and based on the answers that teachers gave me. For challenge, I found that teachers, teachers interviewed and liked English, the method, the teaching through platforms, but find it a little bit challenging when working with children, for example. And it's a little bit more overwhelming for children. And also, if you are a little bit not afraid of technology, if you're not a technology-friendly person. And for comfort, the teachers interviewed and suggested that it's comfortable because you don't need to go to the places to give your lessons, and you can manage your time properly. You can teach more students. For example, you finish one student and then you get 5 minutes, and then you can teach another student. And yeah, that's basically it. That's comfort. And the third one is blending a suggestion. And all the teachers interviewed suggested that teaching online it's great, it's a great tool. However, and you don't depend only on teaching online. You need to be able to use your interactions. So that's why they suggested blending technology and normal interaction. And ideally, in a normal classroom setting, would be the ideal way of teaching. Then we have advantages, which is time efficiency, flexibility, and engagement. As I mentioned before, time efficiency because the teachers interview said that they can manage their time, they can manage their schedule, and it's very comfortable for them in that way. It gives them more time to prepare their lessons too. And the next one is flexibility. For flexibility, they mentioned that not only does it make the content more easy to schedule, but also teachers do not need to prepare hours before, and also teachers can prepare one lesson, for example, one video, and that one video can be used for different students and for different lessons. Engagement is another advantage that is mentioned a lot, because it's the use of media can catch the attention of the students more easily, especially teenagers and adults. For disadvantages, And I found difficult to assess properly, difficult to stay focused, and not enough student collaboration. For difficult to assess properly, they mentioned that, for example, sometimes they turn off their cameras, and you cannot see really if they understand the topic or not. It's more difficult to really see if they understand. Also, it's kind of difficult for Chinese students to speak. And for difficulty to stay focused, this is especially for children, because children are special and you need to give special attention to them, and they get distracted easily. And not enough student collaboration, because they mentioned that sometimes, as I said before, they turn off their camera, and the shy students, you have to elicit things from them because they don't want to talk, and it's a little bit more difficult to have all the students participate. And for typical problems, they mention internet connection problems and electricity problems. And for internet connection, they blame Tigo and Claro and all the internet companies for the internet issues. And for electricity, they blame Ande, and literally. And for tools, they all said that they use Zoom as the platform. And when asked how they found their resources, they mentioned Google. They just said they Google, and they find everything on Google. And also they mentioned YouTube, where you can find, for example, songs for children, and like those songs for children. And also you can find, to introduce vocabulary to adults or teenagers, you can find parts of movies or parts of series, and you can introduce, for example, a quote or a phrase that is in that part of that movie or series, and you can give them authentic material to learn. Okay. For the discussions, I found a lot of literature regarding the benefits of using technology in teaching online, because it stimulates visual and auditory perceptions. Also, I found a lot of literature about how it cultivates interest in the students. However, I also found literature regarding that some teachers know that technology is not the same as blending, as I mentioned, blending, and that traditional classes offer advantages. I mean, online lessons offer advantages, but also online traditional lessons provide advantages that online lessons don't provide. So that's in the discussions part. For the conclusion, and the summary of results, as I mentioned before, based on the interviews and the teachers' answer, 5 themes were emerged from the analysis of the interview, of the transcript. And to determine this, a transcript was created using the software I mentioned before, and the codes were used using Microsoft Word. So they were arranged in Word and created a table, and those were the codes created, and according to those codes, the themes emerged. And that's how I came to the conclusion of these 5 themes and the sub-themes also. And as I mentioned before, this answers the main question: what are the teachers' perceptions about using technology remotely? And also it answers, we achieved our objectives, which was to find out their perceptions, and also the advantages and constraints and the challenges they face. For implications, And this study has several implications for the field of teaching, and it portrays the importance of teaching, of using technology to teach online, as it describes the advantages and disadvantages of online teaching, and teachers can actually can know what the advantages and disadvantages are, and based on that, they can create a more meaningful learning environment for the students, and also it can motivate teachers who are not using technology in their lessons to start researching, and in order to find resources and to find out that actually you can um, you can find hundreds of thousands of resources online. Um, for okay, for recommendations, I say that technology offers numerous opportunities for the classes, and if used properly, it can pose great advantage for students and for teachers. However, technology also has disadvantages, so teachers should consider technology and for their lessons, but also should be aware that they cannot rely only on technology. They should also expand their knowledge in professional um, professional professionally, so that they can benefit the students and themselves, and they can not only use technology for students and for their lessons, but also for themselves and for their professional development. And knowledge about classroom management is very important when teaching. So also is the real interaction with the students. So, and the teacher is a facilitator for the teaching process. So they are at 50% of the effectiveness of the classes and the lessons. So, and that's basically it. Thank you very much. If you have any question, anything I didn't mention, please and let me know, and I will answer your questions. Perhaps because I'm nervous, I forgot to mention something, and I will stop sharing. I'm done.
Bueno, sí.
Do you have?
Ladies, would you like to start asking questions, Miss Ortiz?
Both of us are Ortiz.
Yeah, true.
Rosa, you go first. You go first, Rosa.
Okay, I have a question about how did you choose the teachers and that you asked these questions to? Like, how did you gather your information or your group?
Okay, I know some teachers, and so I found teachers who actually teach online. Some of them teach in institutes, some of them are freelance teachers, and I contacted them, and I had a virtual meeting with them, and I talked to them through Zoom.
So mostly teachers you knew already, like your.
No, some of them I do know. Some of them I never talked to them before, and they were so nice that they answered my question.
Okay. Can I ask you how many teachers?
Only 5 teachers officially, but I talked to teachers unofficially. Of course, it's not included in the research, in the results, but all of them almost had the same perceptions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And my question would be if you have a possibility to expand this research,
Yes.
what areas would you choose?
If I would love to expand that on teachers from all part of the world with students from all part of the world. I would like to do that. Actually, if I had more time, I would have done that.
Mhm.
I think that that's a very interesting topic.
And I have a question also. Did you perceive that the teachers show more confidence? Well, of course, this pandemic year forced all of them to actually grab the tool and say, "This is it. We have to use it," right?
Yeah.
But do you think that without the pandemic, teachers would have built that confidence the same in within a year time?
Yeah. Based on
Like
what
we're
I
talking about one 2020 and another the same teacher
yeah
March 2021,
yeah
right? Do you see
yeah I understand. Based on what I
a
saw,
different face?
based
Yeah.
on what I saw and what they said and what I felt, and most of them did it because of the pandemic, but they admitted that it was a great tool. Actually, that it was very helpful. So if it wasn't for the pandemic, maybe they wouldn't have done it before.
So they sort of felt forced to do it, forced to
Yeah,
take the step, right?
yeah. But so, some of them also loved using technology. So I think that it's like 50-50. But also I thought before the research that technology was like, wow, technology is a great tool. I never actually considered the interaction part.
Mm-hmm.
And they mentioned that it's the interaction is essential. You cannot just rely on a machine or
Mm-hmm.
a software to do it.
I have one more. Sharing this study with teachers in Paraguay. Do you consider sharing these findings, these interviews, these tools that you said? Well, this is what teachers in Paraguay are saying. Do you consider sharing this with
If
teachers?
it's considered an interesting topic, yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think I need to um, perhaps officially interview more teachers in order to uh, have more like background or backup
Mm.
for support, uh, supporting answers.
Great.
Bueno, so I get
That's all for me.
the last turn to ask questions. Erma, I'm interested in the demographics of your study. How old are, I mean, a range of ages of the people you interviewed?
Okay. Um, they were actually I included that in my transcript. I didn't include it in the paper. And some teachers are 23, some teachers are 26. There is one teacher who is 45, and mostly 20s, and one is 45.
Okay, and did you ask about their previous experience in professional development concerning technology? Did they had any training or they were just
Yes, yes. Some of them are teachers from CPA, and some of them study at the ISL. And one is a teacher from Berlin, and he had the training there, and he also teaches other languages there. And I asked them that, yeah, in my in my
as part of your
transcript.
demographics? Okay, because I don't remember reading that in the paper.
Yeah,
Um,
I did mention actually in the paper. I just
Now,
mentioned the themes, and
yes,
I should have.
in your results. It's interesting to know because did you get the impression that maybe, well, your sample is too small, That's why we can draw generalizations. Did you maybe notice that younger people were more inclined towards using technology? Did you notice any shifts in attitudes or anything that it's worth mentioning concerning their ages and their training in using technology?
I think it depends on the ages of the student, because those who were teaching children, they prefer a normal classroom setting. They prefer that because they know that children need to touch things and they want to be there singing to them. And it doesn't depend on the age, because some of them were like 23 and they preferred teaching in person. I think it doesn't have to do with the age. It has to do with the students.
Okay, well, the student's age is more related to that.
Yeah.
Okay, well. Ladies, would you like to ask anything else? Miss Rosa, Miss
No,
Caro?
I'm done with me. Thank you so much. I really hope you continue expanding this. So
Do you think it's
it's an
interesting?
interesting topic.
Yeah.
It's super
very
interesting.
interesting.
There are way many branches you could explore in depth just from this exploratory research. There is a lot of fabric to cut, like we say in Spanish. I don't know if there is an equivalent idiom in English. There must be, I'm sure. But
Sorry, I didn't hear.
there is a lot of fabric to cut. Like we say in Spanish, hay mucha tela para cortar.
Yeah, it's a very wide topic.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias a la disertante, y ahora le invitamos a salir un momento y también a Edith Núñez, si puede salir un momentito, y por WhatsApp le vamos a invitar otra vez a que vuelvan a la reunión.
Okay. Thank you.
Hear you. There you go. Ready? Okay. So we've talked about your paper. We want to congratulate you for getting this far, and we know it's been a commendable effort on your behalf to finish in a time frame that was, I mean, you were running out of time, literally speaking. And congratulations, Licenciada. Your thesis has been approved with a 4. Now you are officially our colleague. Congratulations. Felicidades.
Congratulations.
Congratulations,
Yes. Thank you.
Finally, you got rid of it.
Finally, after 4 years. Yeah, it took me 4 years.
Super.
But we're done.
Thank you.
We're done.
Thank you for
Professor Carolina,
everything.
would you like to say something about?
Yes. We would like to point out that we suggest you to go over some punctuation issues that you have in grammar. We're not sure if you printed this already, but if you have, we suggest you to reprint, like maybe take a look at the question marks at the beginning of questions that are not used in English. These are things that you have to be careful at the beginning of questions. Even in your PowerPoint, you still use them. You might want to be careful with those things. We're just taking care of your whole product. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank
on the
you.
final product.
I know it will take some effort. It might take some effort, but it's at the end, it's better for you.
I know. Thank you.
And we
Caro,
would like
losing
to
you.
encourage you in this study because it's quite interesting. I am here. It's connection issues. Bye. Take care. So yeah, we would like to encourage you to continue expanding this field of study because there is a lot to investigate here. Yeah.
Yes, there are subfields that could be worth a whole new project of a whole new research project, or even, I don't know. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Alrighty then. So thank you, Erma. Congratulations again. Felicidades, licenciada.
Gracias. Muchas gracias. Gracias
Okay,
por
I'm going to give a closure now in Spanish.
Okay.
Muy Muy bien, señores y señoras, esta fue la presentación defensa de tesis de la graduada Erma Elizabeth Núñez Ruiz Díaz con el tema Teachers' Perceptions on Teaching Through Teleconferencing Technology for Remote English Teaching. Muchas gracias.
Gracias. Gracias a todos.
Good.